The sky above planet Zarvin was dark with storm clouds. Thunder rolled like angry drums in the heavens. Inside the alien war camp, the leaders of the Zarnok species stood around a glowing map. They were tall, blue-skinned, and cruel. Sharp tusks poked from their jaws, and their golden armor made them look like monsters from nightmares. But today, they were smiling. In front of them stood a lone human soldier, Jack Carter. He had short brown hair, tired eyes, and a calm face. That didn't match the situation. His hands were tied behind his back, but he stood tall. "Human," said General Vark, the Zarnok commander, his voice cold. "You will be sent to the death zone." Whispers moved around the room. Even the alien guards looked uneasy. "No one returns from there," one muttered. "It's full of the cursed beasts," said another. "Let the humans scream like the others." Jack didn't speak, just looked up at the stormy sky through the open ceiling and took a slow breath. "You will take only this," Vark said, tossing a dull knife to the ground. "And this broken communicator." The device was cracked, useless. The alien crowd laughed. "This is your punishment," the general said, "for being human." But Jack didn't laugh. Bent down, picked up the knife, and smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just a small one, like he knew something they didn't. "Understood," Jack said. "When do I leave?" "Now," Vark growled. Two guards dragged him outside and shoved him toward a small hover vehicle. It hovered just above the ground like a flat, silent sled. A driver pointed toward the jungle in the far distance. "You go in. You don't come out." They all laughed again, but Jack didn't speak. The vehicle dropped him off at the edge of the jungle. The sky was darker here. Trees were twisted and black. Thick vines moved slightly in the wind. Was it something else? The air smelled of blood and rot as the vehicle floated away. Jack looked back once, then he stepped into the trees. Inside, everything was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no insects. No sound except for the slow rustling of leaves that didn't come from wind. Jack moved carefully. Every step was slow, measured. He didn't call out, didn't panic. He just listened. Suddenly a growl. It came from behind a fallen log. Jack crouched low, knife ready. The growl came again, deeper this time, like a lion crossed with a nightmare. Then he saw it, eyes, red, watching, waiting. But Jack didn't run. Instead, he dropped the knife. He sat down, legs crossed, palms open. And he whispered, "I'm not here to fight you." Silence. The creature stepped forward. It was huge. It was taller than any man, 4 arms, a long tail. Skin was like armor, dark gray with glowing blue cracks. Its mouth had 3 rows of teeth, death in living form. It sniffed the air around Jack. Its breath was hot, wet, dangerous. Still, Jack didn't move. "I know what they sent me here for," he said softly. "They think you'll kill me. They want me dead." The beast blinked. "But I'm not like them," Jack added. The creature tilted its head, and then it turned and vanished into the trees. Jack smiled again, just a little. "That's a start." He whispered back at the alien war camp. General Vark was drinking victory wine. "By now," he said, "the human is bones." They all laughed. But none of them noticed the storm clouds were moving in a strange way over the jungle, and none of them knew what Jack was really doing. The jungle wasn't just a jungle. It breathed, it listened, it waited. As soon as Jack stepped deeper into the dark green world, the trees seemed to close behind him like a mouth swallowing its prey. No path, no sunlight. Only shadows and strange sounds that didn't belong in any forest on Earth. Each step he took sank slightly into the wet black ground. His boots made no noise. Even his breath felt too loud. Jack didn't walk like a soldier now. He moved like a hunter, but not one searching to kill. He was searching to connect. Somewhere high in the twisted trees, something watched him. The creature with the red eyes, larger than any predator the Zarnok had ever faced, followed from above. As wind, it was curious, confused. No prey had ever entered its territory without running. No prey had ever sat down and offered peace. This human was different. Hours passed. Jack didn't speak, didn't shout. He gathered dry moss, made a shelter from leaves, and marked his location on the cracked comlink, even though it didn't work. Old habits die hard. As night fell, the jungle came alive. Screeches echoed from far away. Glowing insects danced in the air. Plants pulsed softly with bioluminescence. A strange blue fog drifted along the ground. Jack lit a small fire, not for heat, but for trust. He left half his rations beside the fire uncovered. Then he stepped back. He sat at a distance, not looking at the food, waiting hours later at the bushes. Shifted to yellow eyes appeared, but it wasn't the beast from before. This was smaller lizard-like, quick, hungry. It crept toward the food, suddenly /slash. A huge claw came out of nowhere and tore the smaller creature in two. The red-eyed monster had returned. It didn't eat the kill. It looked at Jack, then looked at the fire, and then sat down. Jack's heart beat faster, but he didn't move. Slowly, the massive beast sniffed the food he had left. Then with one claw, it gently pulled the ration to its mouth and ate. Jack exhaled. "Guess you liked it," he whispered. The beast looked at him. It didn't growl, didn't charge. It just blinked once, and stayed. All night, by morning, Jack was awake before the sun. The beast had curled up nearby, like a guard dog the size of a tank. Jack stood and stretched. He didn't try to touch it. Instead, he broke another ration in half and gently placed it between them. This time, the beast pushed it toward Jack. A gift. Jack smiled. "You're smarter than they think," he said. And somewhere deep in the creature's throat, a low sound rumbled, not a growl, but something close to a purr. The bond had begun, not with chains, not with fear, but with respect. Meanwhile, back at the Zarnok base, General Vark was growing impatient. "It's been 2 days," he said, pacing. "Even bones don't last that long in the jungle." His officer nodded. "We sent a drone to confirm, but it vanished. No signal." Vark grunted. Maybe the jungle ate it. But in his mind, a small voice whispered, "What if the human survived?" He pushed the thought away. Back in the jungle, Jack was learning fast. The beast, he started calling it Bones, because of the strange armor plates on its back, began following him through the jungle like a silent shadow. They hunted together, slept near each other. Jack even taught it how to use a fallen tree as cover. Bones wasn't just a beast, it was intelligent, almost too intelligent. But one thing worried Jack. Other creatures were watching. Larger ones, quieter ones, beasts that even Bones didn't chase. That night, as Jack sat by the fire, Bones suddenly stood, its tail stiff, its nostrils flaring. Then it did something strange. It stepped in front of Jack, protecting him and from the darkness. Something screamed, not an animal scream, a scream like something dead but still alive. Jack grabbed his knife, but Bones growled deeply. Then, out of the trees, something massive moved. Jack's eyes widened. "What the hell is that?" Bones roared. The battle was coming. The fire crackled low, casting long shadows on the jungle floor. Jack crouched behind a thick root, his heart pounding like drums in his ears. Bones's beast companion stood still as stone in front of him. Massive body blocked Jack from the creature in the darkness. Not prey, not friend. Something different, something Bones feared. And Jack knew. If Bones was afraid, then this wasn't just another monster. This was a hunter of hunters. The air turned cold, like the jungle itself had stopped breathing. A shape moved between the trees. Not walking, gliding, it was tall, but not as bulky as Bones. Its skin was silver and black, as if liquid metal had formed a skeleton. Its eyes were bright, white glowing like twin moons, and its mouth had no lips, just teeth. Rows of them, Jack had seen death before, but this was something worse. Bones growled, lowering its head. A warning. But the silver creature didn't stop. Instead, it let out a sound, not a roar, not a growl. It was a whisper that somehow echoed inside Jack's mind. "You don't belong here." Jack clutched his dull knife. It felt like a toothpick, but he didn't back away, because Bones didn't move either. The silver beast took one more step forward. Then Bones leaped. The jungle exploded with motion. Jack rolled to the side as two monsters collided like thunder. Claws against claws, roars against roars. Vines tore, trees fell, the fire vanished in the wind. Jack got up, limping, watching his bones bit deep into the silver creature's side butt. It didn't bleed. It hissed and slashed back with razor arms, cutting into Bones' thick hide. "Bones!" Jack shouted. He picked up a broken branch set on fire and ran forward. The firelight made the silver creature pause, confused by the flame. That 1 second was all Jack needed. He stabbed the burning branch. Into its side, it screeched a high-pitched, metallic scream and vanished into the fog. Silence returned. Bones dropped to one knee, panting. Deep wounds bled across his back. Jack rushed forward. "Hey, stay with me!" Bones blinked slowly. Then something amazing happened. The beast lowered its huge head too. Jack's lap, trust, complete trust. Jack's hands shook. He didn't expect this. He had come here expecting to. But not to care. Not for this beast. Not for this beast. Not like this. Carefully, he used leaves and moss to pack Bones' wounds. Every time Bones growled in pain, Jack whispered gently, "It's okay. I've got you. I'm not leaving." He stayed awake the entire night, holding his fire close, and Bones even closer. By morning, Jack's shirt was soaked in blood, not his, but the creature's. His hands were dirty, his eyes red. But Bones was breathing, still alive. Jack looked up. At the sky, through the cracks in the jungle, and for the first time since landing on this cursed planet, he smiled. "We're going to make it," he said softly, "together, somewhere far away in the alien command tower." Zarnok Scout watched the jungle through a long-distance drone lens. Suddenly, the screen flickered. Then it showed a shocking image. The human, alive, covered in blood, sitting beside a giant wounded beast like they were allies. The scout's jaw dropped. He hit the emergency alarm. General Vark stormed into the room. "What is it now?" The scout slowly turned the screen. "General." Vark's face froze. "No," he muttered. "It can't be." The human wasn't just alive. He had returned the jungle's greatest monster into a loyal beast. This wasn't survival anymore. This was domination. The morning light broke through the trees. But the jungle didn't feel warmer. It felt still, like even the wind was watching. Jack sat beside Bones, whose giant body was now scarred but breathing. Every breath was slow, deep, and filled with pain. The creature that once ruled this deadly jungle now lay in silence, trusting a human to protect it. Jack's hands were shaking, not from fear, but from something else, responsibility. He wasn't just trying to survive anymore. He was now part of something bigger. He tore strips from his shirt, dipped them in healing, sap from the glowing tree nearby, and wrapped them around the beast's wounds. Bones flinched but didn't fight. When Jack finished, he whispered, "You saved me. Now it's my turn." Bones lifted his heavy head and stared into Jack's eyes. There was no rage, only recognition. The day passed slowly. Jack built a shelter from fallen logs and leaves. Bones didn't move much. But his eyes never left Jack. He watched the human work, listened to the quiet humming as Jack sang softly old Earth songs no one else in the galaxy knew. In the middle of the day, Jack hunted. He came back with a strange, alien rabbit-like creature. He cooked half, gave the other half raw. Bones sniffed it, looked at Jack, and nudged his cooked portion toward him. Jack grinned. "You're learning manners now, huh?" Bones let out a deep grunt. Not a growl. Almost a laugh. That night, the fog returned, but Jack didn't light a fire. This time, he curled beside Bones under the shelter. The beast wrapped his thick tail near Jack's body, as if guarding him in his sleep, and for the first time since coming to this planet, Jack slept peacefully. The next morning brought a surprise. When Jack awoke, Bones was standing, not limping, not weak, strong again. The wounds were still healing, but the fire in the beast's eyes had returned. Jack stood up slowly, unsure. Bones stepped forward, and then he bowed his head. Not low, it's just enough. But Jack knew what it meant. It wasn't just trust, it was loyalty. This creature, once a killer feared by the way, Galax had accepted him not as prey, but as partner. Jack reached out, slowly placed his hand on Bones's thick forehead. Bones didn't flinch. Instead, he let out a quiet rumble that Jack felt through his fingers. A connection, a language without words, a bond beyond species, far above. The trees, hidden in the branches, another drone silently captured it all. The human. The touch, the feed streamed straight to the Zarnok command base. Inside the war room, the generals watched in silence. This is impossible, one said. No creature bows to a human, said another. General Vark stared at the screen, his jaw tight. He wasn't supposed to come back, whispered. But Jack wasn't just coming back. He was bringing something with him, something the Zarnok couldn't control, couldn't defeat, and couldn't understand. Later that day, Jack climbed onto Bones's back. The creature didn't resist. It simply stood tall, carrying the human with pride. Together, they turned toward the edge of the jungle, the place Jack had entered alone. Now he would leave with a monster turned friend. And when they stepped out of the trees, the galaxy would never be the same. The gates of the Zarnok military base hadn't moved in weeks. They were massive, built from black steel, tall enough to stop tanks, beasts, even falling ships. But today, they began to shake. At first, no one paid attention. Another tremor. From the jungle, they thought. But then, boom. The ground trembled. Boom. Soldiers dropped their cups. Boom. Walls vibrated. Lights flickered. Guards ran to the viewing deck, eyes wide as scanners began to scream. Something's coming, one whispered. Another zoomed in the camera feed and dropped his drink in shock. General Vark, you need to see this now. In the command tower, General Vark slowly stood from his seat. He walked to the screen, bored, till he saw it, and froze. It was the human Jack Carter. He was covered in dirt and scars. His clothes were torn. His eyes looked older, but he was alive. And behind him, a beast marched forward. Not just any beast. Bones, the same jungle monster they all feared. It's the one that had killed entire squads. The one they believed no one could ever control. And now, it walked beside the human like a pet, no like a companion. Outside, the heavy jungle mist rolled in behind them, painting the perfect scene. Jack stopped. It's just a few feet from the gate. Bones growled once. The gates opened not because someone ordered it, but because everyone inside was too scared to keep them closed. Jack stepped through first. He didn't raise a weapon, didn't say a word. He just walked. Every Zarnak soldier who saw him backed away, their weapons lowered, their expressions frozen in disbelief. What is that thing with him? One whispered, It's Bones, ... But how? He's supposed to be dead. Jack stopped in the center of the base. He looked around, familiar faces. The same ones who had mocked him, laughed when he was sent to the death zone. Now, it looked at him like ghosts, seeing a man rise from the grave. Bones stood tall behind him, eyes glowing faintly, breath steady but ready. Ready for war, or worse. General Vark finally arrived, surrounded by guards. But even he took a step back when Bones looked at him. You... Vark growled, pointing. What kind of trick is this? Jack didn't smile, didn't flinch. He simply said, No trick. You were supposed to die. I didn't, Jack replied coldly. But others might. If this beast had chosen differently. Bones growled softly, low and deep. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Vark threw up his hand. No. "Stand down," he said, his voice trembling. "We fire. We die." The silence that followed was heavy. Jack turned to leave, but paused. "Next time you want someone dead," he said over his shoulder, "don't send a human." Then he mounted Bones, and together they walked away. Not in retreat, but in victory. Behind them, no one spoke. The base was silent. Even the bravest generals didn't dare laugh now, because what they had seen was a man who had gone into Helland, returned with hell on a leash. Asterisk the Zarnok command. Hall was silent, not the kind of silence that comes from peace, but the kind that comes before collapse. General Vark sat frozen in his high chair, claws tapping slowly on the table. His golden armor looked heavy now. His chest didn't rise. Calmly it jerked like a man hiding panic before him. Giant screens replayed the footage again and again. The human, alive, the beast, obeying, the base, bowing. A younger officer dared to whisper, "Should we report this to the High Council?" Vark didn't answer, because he knew the truth. They already knew, across the galaxy. Zarnak warships received the news like a virus. Some laughed at first. A human. Taming a death beast? That's just a jungle tale. But then came the images. The gates opening, the soldiers stepping back, the look on Vark's face. No one laughed after that. The story became a warning. On distant Zarnok colonies, civilians whispered in back alleys. "Did you hear? The human came back, with the beast. They say it follows his commands like a loyal dog. Maybe he cast a spell. It's no worse. Maybe he made a bond. A death bond." The rumors spread faster than any weapon, and fear followed. Them like a shadow. Back on the war base, General Vark gathered his highest commanders. "We can't allow this to go public," he said, voice tight. "If other species see this, see what a single human did our control will break." One commander looked up, voice uncertain. "Then what do we do?" Another added. "He didn't attack us. He left peacefully." Vark slammed the table peacefully. "He humiliated us in front of our entire army." Owen spoke after that, because no one could deny it. The Zarnok had tried to bury a human, and now that human walked the planet like a myth. Somewhere deep in the command base, a group of scientists reviewed drone footage. One paused the video. "Zoomed in, sir," he said into the comms. "There's something you should see." The feed showed Jack's hand touching the beast's head. Nothing mechanical. No chains. No tricks. Just touch, and the beast had bowed. "That's not control," the scientist said. "That's respect." Meanwhile, miles away, Jack and Bones walked through the canyon trails outside the base. Far from Zarnok eyes, Jack sat on a cliff edge, looking down at the valley below. Bones lay beside him, breathing softly, his wounds healing faster than expected. "You feel that?" Jack said quietly. Bones gave a low grunt. "They're scared now." Bones turned his head, as if asking, "What now?" Jack stared at the setting. "Twin suns. I'm not going back to Earth," he said. "Not yet." He looked down at his hands. "I was just a tool to them. Disposable, weak." He placed his palm on Bones's thick hide. "But now, they've made me something else." Somewhere above, hidden drones still watched. The High Council had issued a silent order. Observe. Do not interfere. But deep inside every Zarnok leader, one word burned like fire: fear. Not of humans in general, but of one human, whatever he had become. Galaxies away, in hidden chambers of the Interstellar Council, leaders of dozens of alien species watched the same recording, the same human, the same beast, and the same impossible truth. He walked into a cursed jungle alone, walked out. With its king, he wasn't supposed to survive. He did more than survive. He changed the rules. No one had answers, only questions and fear. But Jack Carter didn't care about any of that. Not anymore. He sat by a campfire on the edge of a cliff, Bones curled beside him like a mountain-sized shadow, peacefully asleep. The stars above glittered like diamonds, cold and far, but for the first time. They didn't feel lonely. Jack looked up and smiled. "Remember when they laughed, Bones?" he whispered. Bones rumbled softly in response. "They thought we were weak, broken, disposable. Jack threw another log into the fire, but now they whisper our names like we're a warning. He leaned back, hands behind his head. I never wanted power, never wanted revenge. He looked at Bones. I just wanted to live. But fate had given him more. The beast beside him wasn't just a pet, Bones was his. Mirror abandoned, feared, hunted, but still standing, still breathing, still fighting together. They weren't just survivors. They were symbols. Across the stars, things were changing. Rebellions sparked quietly on planets, ruled by fear. Soldiers began painting marks on their armor marks shaped like Bones' eye, a sign of silent resistance, of defiance. Children on colony worlds whispered bedtime stories of the man who tamed death. And on one distant planet, an entire alien army surrendered without a shot because they thought they saw Jack walking toward them. Even though he was never there, Jack didn't ask for fame. But legends don't need permission. They simply rise. Morning Bones stood at the edge of a mountain ridge, staring into the distance. His nose twitched, ears alert. Jack walked up beside him. What is it? He asked. Bones growled once soft. But focus, something was coming. Ships, maybe scouts, maybe enemies. Jack took a deep breath, then smiled. All right. Buddy, one more time. He climbed onto Bones' back, no saddle, no armor, just trust. And together they began to move. Through the trees, through the clouds. Toward whatever the stars had planned next. The man they tried to bury had become the storm they could never outrun.